Folks, have I got a treat for you today. We've got a 45-year-old man at an ATM who's being mugged by an attempted robber with a handgun. There's a couple of really great lessons to learn from this, so let's get started. Okay, so we've got a mugger here in the blue hoodie, and he has a pistol, it's kind of hard to see, held low at our victim's side. He's making the victim pull money out of this ATM. Now they're in some sort of a small lobby of a larger store, and as you can see, another customer is walking in. He sees what's going on and he decides to get the heck out of there. Watch what happens next. Now, if you didn't see that, I'll play it again, but our victim sees that the mugger is distracted by the other man, and he uses this opportunity to do a disarm. Here it is again, in case you missed it. Boom. He fires a couple of shots, he pistol whips him, and the mugger literally runs through the door to get away. Okay, so let's go over some lessons. First off, using an ATM is kind of like gambling with muggers, except there's no prize to be won. I would recommend avoiding ATMs whenever possible. If you have to use one, go inside of a busy bank or grocery store where there's lots of people around, preferably in the daytime. But be aware that muggings usually happen when you are followed to your car by someone who is watching you pull that money out. So always stay aware of your surroundings. Next, you have to decide if it's worth the risk of going for a gun disarm. Is it worth you being potentially injured or killed? It's sort of a free country, so you get to make that choice. Now, if you're going to go for the disarm, this guy did it right. He waited for a distraction. Notice the mugger turns and looks when the other customer walks in, and boom, that's when you can make your move. You can see the victim grabs the gun and pushes the muzzle off of him, and just in case it went bang. In fact, he pulled it right out of the guy's hand in one move from what I can tell. Now, whenever I teach gun disarms, the first move I always teach is to clear the muzzle off of you and get a firm grip. The second move is to then twist it and then yank it away. In this case, our victim did all that in one move and it worked out fine. But the reason that I wouldn't recommend doing it that way is if the mugger had a more secure grip on the gun, it probably would not have come out of his hand. You might need a stronger movement like twisting it and ripping it away to really break that bad guy's grip. But hey, it worked out nicely for our victim, so huge thumbs up, big victory. Now our victim has the gun. Now I would normally tell people you need to make space by moving away. In this case, it doesn't appear that there's really anywhere to go, so another option would be to shove the bad guy away while shielding the gun on your back hip. That way the bad guy can't just wrestle the gun back away from you. However, in this case, the mugger makes the space for us when he just turns and books it, which I have noticed is pretty often the case when bad guys get disarmed. Now our victim is not having it, and he fires 2 rounds into the bad guy. Now you might be thinking, hey, he shot a man in the back who was running away, but realize all of this happened in about a second. You won't have time for any in-depth decision making. Your mind is just going to be thinking, shoot the bad guy to defend yourself. So I don't think our victim did anything wrong here. Now at some point, if the mugger was running away and the victim chased him out the door and shot at him, then he's going to be getting into some potentially deep water from a legal perspective. But this quick disarm to immediately shooting is perfectly fine. Okay, now running up and hitting the guy with the gun was a bad tactical move. You can even see the mugger takes a swing at the victim, and he could have knocked the victim out or down, and he might have dropped the gun, and now the mugger gets a hold of the gun, and our victim would be back to being a victim again. And things might have been a lot worse for him the second time around. So he would have been better off just shooting him and then keeping his distance as the mugger ran away. Remember, the advantage of the gun is distance. So when you close that distance, you take away your advantage and you give the opportunities to the bad guy. Don't put yourself in that kind of risk. So once again, the victim did a wonderful job of protecting himself, his community, and aside from rushing in to hit the guy with the gun, I thought this was very well done. Now, according to what I heard, the bad guy was found a couple of blocks away, dead from his wounds. So the streets of Philly are just a little bit safer now, which isn't saying much. But there is one less bad guy to worry about. Now, I don't know if this victim was trained or not, but I know he didn't hesitate once he decided to make his move, and he went all in. And that's a lesson that we can all take from this. Especially if you practice realistic gun disarms, take note of how this whole scenario played out and use this as an opportunity to make your training more realistic. As always, thanks for liking the video. Subscribe to see future videos. If you want to become part of the Warrior class, I recommend you start now. Go find a school that teaches reality-based martial arts and get started right away. The world needs more good people like you to become part of the Warrior class so that it's more dangerous for bad guys and it's a safer world for you and your loved ones. See you next time.